Multiple screaming goats. It's going to be a good night.
Multiple
goats.
Can you ever have too many screaming goats? Is that a
No.
thing?
No, are you nuts? Yo, YouTube. Welcome to Live on Wednesday nights, every Wednesday, 8 Central Standard Time with Charlie and Stuart the Goat.
Stuart the Goat, rising at him.
One-eared Stu.
Yeah, Vincent Van Gogh, right?
It's Vincent Van Gogh, yes. So we've got a few things we want to talk about tonight. Charlie put some work in today, some work away from work. He caught the plague that I was dealing with last week. And he put some time in to kind of go over some of his progress thus far, which I think was pretty cool. So we're going to take a look at that. We want to talk a little bit about Topps, big news coming out. Maybe a little bit about the National. If we've got some time and people have questions in here or want to start maybe planning a little bit for that, I think that would be a good strategy going into it. I've never been to Cleveland before, so this will be a new experience for me.
I heard it rocks.
That's what they say, yeah. I don't know. It will when we're there, that I can tell you.
Yeah.
We're going to make it rock. Yeah, once the stew man is there. So I thought of another, I have a Stuart too, right? Full transparency here, there's more than one Stu, okay? Don't tell your kids. But I was trying to think of a name for mine, and I thought it's gotta be a creative name, and your kid's named the main goat Stu. So I kind of wanted to play on that a little bit. So I thought about Stu Manchu.
Ooh, nice.
You like that? He's got his little. I even got the goat on tonight.
Yeah, I see that.
He's got his little Stu Manchu here.
There you go. I like it.
So we've got Vincent Van Gogh and Stu Manchu. I thought that could be a good time. So we'll see. The goats will rise. They will eventually take over. Goat Skynet. Thanks everybody for joining us. Those that are watching us live, we appreciate you. Please make sure you're participating in the comment section and adding to the conversation. Those watching it recorded, thanks for watching it. Hopefully you can join us live next time. 8 Central Standard Time every Wednesday. So let's start off by talking about some fun stuff. And I know it's been talked to death in social media, but what's your thoughts on the big Topps announcements that came out of the Topps conference this past week?
About the return of some of the brands?
Yep.
Well, I think that's exciting. I haven't, honestly, like you said, I had the plague. I was down and out. Literally, I had to be carried home from our up north land. My wife and my oldest son packed me up in the truck at 7 o'clock in the morning and ran me back to Green Bay because my wife thought she might have to take me to the hospital. But so I haven't really been digging into it much to see all the different brands that are coming back. But I did see the headline that they're bringing some back. I saw some chats with you and Ethan, and I think it's exciting. Like I'm a sucker for nostalgia too. So,
sure.
That's one of the reasons I love Heritage, right? And Topps Archives and stuff like that. So to see some of their brands come back, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and they did announce a bunch of new products too. Sets that we've never had names of before that are going to be for basketball and football. Now, we should state that these top sets that are going to be coming out right now are not going to be licensed because they do not have the basketball license until like March of next year or something like that. And they don't have football license until April of the following year.
So we don't deal with those, right? Because they're not licensed.
Charlie. Here's something you can add to your list of things I've accomplished or learned so far. You can put on there that unlicensed doesn't matter.
You are right. I didn't think of that one when I put it together, but I should add that to it because I did overcome that.
Yeah. So yeah, they're good. Now Topps they have a pretty good design team, so I have a feeling a lot of the stuff will be designed really well, where it's front-on helmets, so you wouldn't see logos anyway, and things like that. But there's going to be LeBron James autos and Wembanyama autos, and all these players that we haven't seen in forever. Stroud's going to be able to sign for the products, things like that, where that's had to be left out with all the Panini stuff. Caleb Williams, of course, the big draft pick this year. So I think that's kind of exciting. And it just, I think it kind of gives them a kickoff, right? It's sort of like a soft launch into those projects. Kind of test a bunch of new sets. Let's test them now when we don't have all the licensing fees and all that stuff we're paying. Yeah. Let's put them on license and see if people think they're cool. If they don't, maybe we won't put them out once we have the bigger, expensive license sets.
Yeah, did I see that some of those releases are going to have multiple sets in them, kind of like a Chronicles?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the football set that comes out right before the National, actually. So we're going to get this in like 2 months. It's going to be kind of a Chronicles set. Yeah, it's going to have like 5 or 6 different base sets in it, and that's probably going to be one of my big buys at the National. I'm gonna pick some of that up. I'm very excited about it. Yeah, so I think it's really good. Fanatics kind of had a little bit of news this past week too, sort of launching over the top of that, that they're going to be doing more events. So we know they have the big New York event, which is going to be more of like a media blitz type event. Think of like San Diego Comic-Con for sports. Yeah. That's sort of their goal. They're going to have big signers there, like Wayne Gretzky, and real big names doing different things. And they're going to do a bunch of like more card show sized ones in other areas of the country, which I thought was kind of an interesting thing. One is going to be in PNC Park. That's Pittsburgh, right?
Correct.
Yeah. It's going to be inside PNC Park. I thought that was kind of cool. They're going to be in a major league park. It'll be mainly a card show, collectibles show, that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see if they're going to try to compete with the National, if they're going to just sort of work together or try to do something entirely different, to make their own space with it. We'll see. But I think that's exciting. And one of the biggest pieces of news for us, Charlie, out of this whole thing was they're going to be doing big events at drafts.
Wait, so what?
At the draft. So we have the
live draft.
So we have the draft this next year in Green Bay. So Fanatics is probably going to be here with some kind of giant show. So that's going to be fun. We're going to have to.
That would be cool.
We'll have to get the cameras out and get to that and have some fun with that. So really looking forward to that. So we want to know from you guys too. Put thoughts in the comments here what you guys think about the new top products that are coming out, and Fanatics' new plans and kind of their expansion of the big shows type of thing. I think it's all positives for our hobby.
Well, if nothing else, everyone said, well, maybe Fanatics really will shake things up, right? And I think so far they are. I know I was one of the voices a little leery of, Fanatics coming in and just trying to take over everything. But, so far I think I view everything they've done as pretty positive.
Yeah, and they're trying to bring this kind of little dead old man hobby is the kindest way I can put it, from the last 10 years into sort of the modern age, right? So they want to see more shops that are progressive, that have, breaker pavilions and, big trade nights and, lots of inventory, and offer grading services and buy regularly, not, oh, this is old junk works, I'll give you $2 for 60,000 cards. They want to see more of a clean, retail space and things like that. So they're kind of trying to hold everybody up to a new standard, and I think that's going to be positive for everybody in the long run.
Right.
So we'll see. So we won't have actual licensed products for another year for basketball and another 2 years essentially for football. But I'm excited to see what they come up with, and I think it'll be fun. And I don't care if stuff's licensed or not anyway. My favorite products to open and I don't open very much wax, but when I do, it's generally wild card products. I love the value. I love the designs. I love that you can pull big autos out of a less than $100 box. To me, there's a lot of value in that. So hopefully these Topps products, they'll keep them, fairly priced, especially, in these non-licensed years until they can. Obviously, once they're releasing licensed products, they're going to be more expensive. Like that's just how it is. It's costing them money, so they're going to have to, add that in. But I think that's okay too. I also don't mind paying a little bit more for a licensed product. So I think you can have both. I think you can have the best of both. But I did hear Panini's getting out of Premier League products too. They're not going to be printing any more Premier League soccer. Yeah. So I'm assuming that's going to default to Topps because those obviously they're still going to want to make those products. So I think we're going to see some big changes in soccer over the next year as well. So, and I think Panini's probably going to stick with like UFC and WWE and some stuff like that. Still do their stickers. They'll still do the stickers and that kind of thing because that's different licensing than trading cards. So I think they'll still have their place that way, but I don't even know if they're going to do a bunch of I think we were kind of assuming they were just going to still make Prism, but it wouldn't have licensing kind of thing, just like they do with baseball. That may be the case, but I don't know how well those products do.
Judging by how much Prism I see, I think they already pre-produced 5 years worth.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that being said, I sell a fair amount of like Panini baseball stuff, like no-name or rookie parallels and stuff like that. I don't buy a ton of baseball, but I've sold it. I've sold, the parallels and stuff. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm less concerned about that than I am about Topps putting out good products because I think I much prefer Topps over Panini anyway, any day of the week. So
I don't think their quality has ever been a huge issue compared to Panini. There may be a rough year here and there, but over the long haul, I think their quality's got a decent reputation.
Yeah, and they have decent insert sets. I think refractors are way better than Prism Silvers. Just the look of them and stuff kind of has that etched look to it. I think they just make superior products and much more affordable. Panini's products got really out of hand, I thought, for prices.
Yeah,
more so than Topps.
Yeah, especially in certain sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like baseball was still fairly affordable for Panini, but basketball, football, like it just kept climbing up.
Yeah. Yeah, and it kind of felt like you're being taken advantage of, right? Because the market heated up, so we'll triple our price. And I mean, I get it. Economics is economics. If you can get another dollar, you're going to get another dollar. But I think there's a detriment to the hobby when you do that too. So you start putting everything out of reach for collectors and people who actually want the products. The flippers don't care because if I pay $10 for it instead of $5 for it, well, then I just charge more, on my side. But if you're the end buyer and you're trying to, stay active in collecting and have a budget, it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Especially when you make 35 different parallels and there isn't even, Topps Chrome was awesome because you had one of one. Right? It was the Superfractor. It was this cool gold looking, brushed metal type of look to it. And that was the 101. That was what you chased. Now it's like black pearl and blah, blah, blah. And then, you have all the printing plates and you got, it's just, it's rough. I think it's rough. Trying to really stay active in the hobby at those prices. So anyway, point is, I think Topps going to do a good job. I think we're going to see a lot more from Fanatics, and we're going to start making our plan for what we're going to do for the draft weekend because I was going to completely avoid the draft area, and now I'm kind of feeling like who can I get to drop me off over there so I can get to the Fanatics show. So, but I think they'll have a lot of promo stuff, like handout pack stuff, and I think it'll be good. I think it's going to be a good time for them to start really putting the promotion in, because it's going to be that's going to be the last draft before, they have all the licensing.
Yeah.
Within a month or two of that, they'll have the licensing. So,
yeah,
right.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah, I think so. Do we want to get to some chat, or do we want to get to your?
Why don't we get in some chat and say hello to everybody?
All right, we shall do that. Art Green is here. Good evening. Finally catching a live for a change. Awesome. Happy to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Art.
Peter's here. Spring scrimmage tomorrow for my son Charlie. Are your boys on the field for spring practices yet?
No. So Wisconsin, every state's a little different with their rules for organized activities. So Wisconsin, we can't get together as an official team until a week late in July, and then we have a couple weeks off, and then we break camp. But what we do in the spring is kind of the captains of the team organize their own 7-on-7 tournaments and play 7-on-7 football. So the skill position players, a couple of linemen, they all get some work in. They typically run a modified version of what we do in the varsity program and get some work in that way. So those things are starting to take shape now.
My daughter's got soccer practice, her first soccer practice tomorrow night. So,
okay.
Obviously that's a summer sport. It's not, fall football, but yeah, I think sports are definitely heating up. We're getting right into that time of year. All the baseball stuff is kicking up, and I got a niece who's got a softball tournament this weekend, and so fun. Hopefully the weather participates this summer for us.
I saw a soccer match taking place. Gosh, I feel like it was a month ago at Notre Dame, and I remember thinking, gosh, that seems really early to be out there on the pitch.
Well, I think the girls' team plays in spring and the boys' team plays in fall.
That makes sense. I think it was girls' soccer that I saw.
Yeah. So unless they've changed that, I mean, it's been 100 years since I've been in high school. But when I was in high school, that's how it was.
Okay.
We didn't have enough girls to have a girls' team. But I'm sure that's changed by now. There's a lot more kids, going out for such things. So, Joe Zacola's here. Hey, what up, boys?
What up?
What up? Crazy Hair is back. You know it.
He was gonna go to the fun tonight, but he just didn't have time to put it out.
I'm living on the edge tonight. I'm a rebel.
I covered up and went with the American Sasquatch.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I was in Target the other day. I tried to find some Gold Fuel and no go.
Oh, really?
Nope, didn't have any. So the quest continues.
Where did I find that? We were down in Appleton. That's where it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't checked Meyer yet, but maybe I'll check there next. Sports Section Plus has joined us. Hey, yo. Welcome to the show.
It's the bad guy, Reza Ramon.
Right? I'm watching live tonight, Bowman release day, listing more Bowman. So Bo has joined us. Welcome, Bo. Keep ripping that Bowman.
Bo's listing Bowman.
Bo's listing Bowman. Yeah, I guess that kind of makes right. Bowman, right? I feel like you need to tie that into your, who you are there a little bit somehow. Can't wait for the Green Bay Distillery show on May 19th. Hope to see you both there. I will be at that one. I am planning to be there. So I think you're going to be there too, right, Charlie? Is that the goal?
If I have my way, yes, but we're starting to get a lot of conflicts on weekends, and I started to tear apart the up north dwelling. So I'm going to have to get that put back together early enough in the summer for us to use it. So getting some pressures to not have anything on weekends for a while.
Yeah, that's fair. I get it. I get it. Once we get into like soccer tournament season, yeah, no go for me either. So
Yeah.
my plan is to go to this May 19th show, just because this is literally the closest show to my house ever.
Hmm.
So I should really try to go. I'm not setting up for sure, so I can kind of control my own hours when I'm going to be there. But that's probably going to be my last one before the national. Is sort of the plan,
Yeah.
because most of my June is going to be soccer tournaments and all this other stuff. Summer school starts, all that kind of thing. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Dude, I started ripping drywall down off the ceiling of our camp up there. And then I reached in and I started pulling the insulation down because we got to redo the ceiling and the roof. And 5 pounds of acorn shells fell down.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy.
you're lucky it wasn't a bunch of animals.
Yeah. I mean,
You know?
I would have said, hey, I think that's maybe what got me sick, but my traveling partner last week got the same illness coming back, so I'm pretty sure we got it on the road.
Yep, sounds like it. Yeah, ravaged our house pretty good. We're still somewhat in recovery mode. Grandpa actually has pneumonia, so he's struggling. Luna's still kind of getting over a little bit of head stuff, and I kind of got the same thing.
Yeah.
Actually went and before dinner tonight, I went and laid down for a little bit just to be as fresh as possible for this venture. But I can feel the strain in my voice and things like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had the old norovirus, and
Yeah.
one of my sons got it as well. The other two in the house have been unaffected, but I think I set a new personal record for praying into the bucket.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I
Pretty
didn't have
sure
anything like that.
roughly 25 times in about 12 hours.
That's brutal. That's brutal. Yeah, we were fortunate we didn't really have that. It was more just the head and the all that stuff.
Yep.
Not that any one of them is great. One nice thing I like about like the vomit flu is you generally blah blah blah, you get it all out and then you're kind of done. Like it's the quickest way to an exit, right? So
That's what I thought, but
yeah.
it lingered on and caused body pains and
Yep.
stomach issues for days now. I started eating some solid food again yesterday, but I'm still all I can eat is rice. Like that's about it.
Man, well, we appreciate you being here with us. We know you're trying to get through it. So that's a couple weeks in a row. we've had our battles here. Yeah, it was rough last week, so I get it. Troy says he switched to free shipping and adding the shipping cost to listing. Sales gone from 1 to 2 orders per day to 4 to 9 per day, with 25% more multi-card orders. That's how it works. Yep, free shipping is something eBay promotes, and customers want to see that. So that's good to hear. Johnny M is here. Evening, fellas. Took a beating on 10 Bowman blasters today. Win some, you lose some. Yeah, I don't buy any of those products, so I don't have much experience with that, but I could see how that could be a high ceiling and a low floor, right?
You do too. You buy it next year at Meijer when it goes on sale for $15.
Yeah. Or I buy a big lot of it. I'll buy a big, box of it, and I don't know who any of these prospects are, and I list them, and then, oh, this guy sold. Okay, great. But yeah, that is kind of how it goes when you're prospecting for sure. Brevin series says, how's your evening? We kind of talked about that. It's got its pros and its cons. We're both kind of getting over something. But I think I'm definitely better than I was last week, so just kind of keep plugging along, right? Luckily, I don't have to go to work, so I walk down the hall to go to work, so it didn't really take anything away from that, which is nice.
I was scheduled to go back to the office tomorrow, but I talked to my leader today, and he's like, "Yeah, no, you stay home."
Yeah. Yeah, they're a good employer doesn't even want you at work. Like, what's the point of that, right? So,
yeah. No sense in exposing anybody else to it, right?
For real. For real. Good Razor Ramon. You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here.
Hey, Chico.
Jesus.
I had a toothpick right now, I'd be tossing it right at the camera.
You people in your wrestling. Do you have any cards by that I can see? I don't know what you mean. I can show you. I can show a card. I always have cards by me.
Yeah, we always have cards. You want to see some Ren and Stimpy? Some Ren
Yeah,
and Stimpy
yeah.
stickers? It's yak shaving season.
Heck yeah. Yak shaving day. See, now you're speaking my language. I know about the yak shaving.
Leave everything to the powdered toast man.
Leave everything to me. Powdered toast man. How about some turkey red?
Well, there you go.
How about, this is one of my favorite colored refractors that they only did for one stinking year. Green.
Green. Look at that.
Yep, numbered out of 199. Yeah, just a couple of fun things I have laying around here.
Since we're talking wrestling, how about the WrestleManiacs? Joy.
Yeah, that's one of the best selling cards out of that set, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, WrestleManiacs.
I only have one.
Well, there's 3 different versions, technically 4.
Looks like this is the circular one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's well, this is how I title them. I do circle prism, laser prism, splatter prism, and then the sticker.
This is the laser, right?
There's a sticker version too. Yes, that's the laser. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And it does matter because people want certain ones, so you gotta list them the right way.
And then I'm guessing these are probably the splatter. This is a sticker, but there's
sticker is its own thing. The stickers are like a star. They're like a Starfield pattern.
Okay.
Kind of in the background. Yeah. Celestial.
Oh, here it is. I got a splatter. You can tell.
Yep. Yeah, it's just got little blops of foil, in different spots. Yeah, I love those. I love those cards. I was kind of cringing though when you were like, "I bought these for this price." Ooh,
it's the first time I had a chance to get my hands on them, and I just wanted to see some in my hands. And I tried for a while with the guy, and he just wouldn't get where I wanted. So I was like, I'm just gonna get them. So
yeah, you got to getting a start is good. So, and at least you got one of the chase cards.
Right.
Those will do okay. So, let's see, oozing machismo. I have a funny Scott Hall Razor Ramon story from the days of the Brown County Arena. Wow. Yeah, the Brown County Arena, that was an interesting place, right? They could never really fix the roof on that place. It was always leaking. Just different events I'd been to since I was a kid, we go in there. I can't remember one event I went to that didn't have buckets somewhere out on the floor catching water,
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then you look at that building now and it's just an insane difference,
It is.
The money that got put into it. All right, so we're kind of caught up with chat. Why don't we go into your presentation, Charlie, and take a look at what you got?
Yeah. We'll get us mostly off the screen a little bit for a while. You don't have to look at us as much. We'll share the screen with it a little bit, but so yeah, as I'm laying helpless on the couch the last couple days, had a lot of time to kind of think to myself about the state of things and what I've gotten into here with this low-end card selling.
Sure.
So I thought I'd kind of jot down my thoughts on kind of lessons learned in my first year. The end of March would have been my 1-year anniversary of selling and getting an eBay store. So I thought it was a good time to kind of reflect on what I feel like I've learned, and I just put together about 11, kind of single statements that are things that I try to remember now when I'm going about this, and hopefully it'll help somebody else who's getting started. But they're all open for discussion as well. And I don't expect everybody to agree with them. Heck, Adam and I are probably not going to agree on some of them, I'm sure, even though a lot of them I did learn from Adam. But there's other ones that I took what Adam gave me and I said, yeah, I'm gonna change it up a little bit when I do it. And I think that's important too. And we'll talk about that as we get in there. So we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing I really thought about is if I had to go back and do this all over again, I would take a little more time to stop and give some thought to what I wanted to do, to be able to focus around something and not try to do too much at once. And then build around that. So we talk about diversifying our stores, and I think that's important. Adam and I both do that. I really enjoy doing that, and I think it gets me more buyers. But even though diversity is great, you can see my comments there. Don't forget about your core. So for me, the core of my store is baseball, and that's kind of my biggest passion in sports, as far as collecting. That's where I got started. I continue to have more baseball than anything else in my store. Sometimes I get so focused on diversifying my store that I neglect my core sometimes. And I think that can hurt you sometimes if you forget what you built around, because you will get repeat buyers that come there just for those offerings. And if you get too far away from it, sometimes you run the risk of losing them a little bit. Right? Like Adam, you taught me it's important to keep some fresh listings out there in different categories, because you want to cater to buyers coming back all the time. If they bought Ren and Stimpy cards before, make sure every once in a while you're putting some Ren and Stimpy out there. If they come there for vintage baseball all the time, make sure you're freshening up some vintage baseball. But don't forget about your core because you're so busy doing everything else. What do you think about that, Adam?
Yeah, I agree. And I think your starting off statement here about before you get too far into this, what do you want? What do you want to do? What are you trying to do with your store, your side hustle, your business? Whatever it is. And I think that's smart because everybody's going to be a little bit different, right? I think Bo too is big time baseball.
Yeah.
You can tell that's his passion and what he likes to rip and stock and prospect. And mine's a lot more football, and a lot of non-sport, which I was way off the beaten path for a long time. And now I've seen more sellers getting on that path. So yeah, I think it's smart to build your core. I mean, my entire original store is built off of Brett Favre cards, and it's still my biggest seller.
That's right.
And now it's Brett Favre and Derek Jeter, but that's okay. But yeah, so I can't just not have Brett Favre cards. Like that would be bad. I have very, very regular buyers that come back and look for that stuff. So kind of like those cards I just showed a little bit before, some of the more rare parallels and that kind of thing. I still pick that stuff up in Favre's because I have buyers that are looking for that stuff. Plus, it helps you sell some of the commons if you have nice stuff. But
and
yeah,
I also think there's just so many options out there. Like you go to a card show and there's 40 to 140 tables. Everything's offering something else. You need a target. Like what are you going for, right? Because we try it all the time to hit every table. It's tough to hit every table, right? But if you can be a little more focused, I think you can be more effective and really be better at finding the deals that you want in the areas you want because you're more targeted.
Yeah, especially now because it's getting harder. Everybody wants to attack those quarter boxes, so it's getting even harder to to get those steals and deals, from what it used to be. I think the other thing again would be by having that focus, it allows you to not spend as much time at a table, right? You can figure out pretty quickly if it's going to be something that's going to offer you something or not.
Right.
And that again comes down to choosing who you want to be. Do you want to be a low end slab dealer? Do you want to be a low end hockey, guy, whatever? Well, if that dealer doesn't sell hockey, you probably don't need to spend any time there. So,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good tips.
So exactly, you need to know what you want to be. For me, and the rest of what I share with you is based around me deciding I wanted to be a low end seller. I was going to sell a lot of $1.99 cards to $9.99 cards, right? I wasn't going to sell as many $100 to $1,000 cards, right? Like that's where I was at, and that's what I'm going to do. So it helped me build my strategy and my plans around that. All right. Next, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Unless it's release day, right, Bo? Then it's a sprint to get those out to market first. But really, you want to be patient. I look back at my early days in doing this, and I was super impatient. I would list a card, and I'm constantly checking on that card to see, is anybody looking at it? Did it sell yet? What's going on? Why isn't anyone watching it? That was time that I could spend on other things. And I put the note there, be patient. Don't waste time watching views and watchers per item early on, or really at all. Put that time into something with a better return, like working on your promotion strategy. It can be really consuming. I get it. We have this seller anxiety to like check on things right away. Like, oh, who's looking at my stuff? What's going to go? Is it as hot as I thought it would be? But if you're going to grow the business, you have to let go of that little micromanagement piece.
Yeah, I agree. I have 41,000 listings. I am not tracking them to see if there's watchers or offer. As a matter of fact, I got to a point now, we just talked about this last week, where I used to go in and when I would send my offers, I'd do them one by one because I wanted to see what cards were getting interest. And I can't do that anymore. I'm getting 40 or 50 of them at a time. It's just too time consuming. So now I just offer a bulk discount, 10% or whatever, to each one of those potential offers because I don't want to miss out on them, but I'm not going to waste all my time looking at each one either anymore. So some of it is you might have more time to do that early on, but as things build, that's not a great use of your time, like you said.
Right. There's so many more impactful things you can be doing. Today I'm at 6,500 listings. I might be at 8,500 if I spent more time listing in those early days instead of trying to watch every little thing. So,
right.
Yeah. So definitely think of it as a marathon, not a sprint. And don't get discouraged if you don't have sales right away. Speaking of that, if you build it, they will come.
Oh,
Focus
boy.
on inventory first, and the sales will eventually follow. So again, be patient with that. I would get so stressed out in those early days of building inventory. Like, where are the sales? Where are the sales? You have to get a good section of inventory before you're going to get a good amount of sales. You have to have something for buyers to choose from. There's such a wide variety of options out there. If you have a very small slice of the pie and very narrow set of offerings, by its very nature, you're not going to get a lot of sales and offers on things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a good example of that was the past couple of years I've been buying a lot of Anthony Edwards stuff, lower end rookies and things like that. Had a pretty good stack of it. I probably have like 50, 60 of his cards. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you've been paying attention to the basketball playoffs, but he's been kind of insane, 40 points a night, and their team looks really good and stuff. And I've just been one after another. They're selling all day long right now. So sometimes, because I had those and they weren't necessarily hot at the time, I just listed them and they kind of sat. And sometimes that's okay because you just need something to trigger it where you're going to get all the buying. And as long as you got that inventory listed, you can make those sales.
Yeah, absolutely. But don't stress on the early sales numbers. Focus on building that inventory and trust that the sales will come. If you're selecting the right stuff and getting it out there, and you'd even be surprised sometimes, you might not think it's the best stuff, but there are buyers out there for some things. The sales will come next, but you can't have any sales without the inventory. So you have to reprioritize that in your mindset too. We're more concerned with the sales by just naturally, right? Like we need to get paid, right? But we have to flip the switch in our minds to say, focus on the inventory and getting those listings out there.
Yep, agreed.
Next, there's a buyer for everything. It's amazing what sells sometimes. However, there's just not as many buyers for some of those things. Mm-hmm. As I say here, Mr. Irrelevant 1998 only has one mother. It's probably the only card that's selling this year, right? So be careful when you make some of those buys of kind of odd and eclectic things and you're like, oh, I remember this guy. And yes, there's a buyer for everything, but ration how much you buy of some of those oddball things. I think it's a great strategy to have one card of every hometown sports hero in your store, right? But I don't know that I would have 20 copies of who was the Packers running back that had the big cat, LaShawn something.
Oh, LaShawn Johnson.
LaShawn Johnson, yeah. Do I want a copy of at least one LaShawn Johnson? It's relatively handy, yeah. Do I want 20 copies of LaShawn Johnson? Probably not. So, what's your take on that?
So, my favorite thing to stock in my store is the complete opposite ends of each other. So I like the steadfast and true. I buy a lot of Tom Brady. I buy a lot of Derek Jeter. I buy a lot of Jordan, Shaq, those players. And then I like the super, super weird outside of the norm stuff. To me, those are the things that sell the best. So I want the less popular sports where there's less cards made. I want non-sports stuff. I want water skiing squirrels. I want and you're right, I don't want 100 copies of those, but I do want some of those in the store, and they are good sellers. And then the Jeters sell in more quantity, and the Brady sell in more quantity. It's a more sure thing. Your margins don't really change much on those. They're pretty true for the sale, since they're all retired Hall of Famers. And that's kind of where I fall with it. Then everything else in the middle is what I can find a deal on more than anything else.
Absolutely. What was your card that we talked about all the time, the water skiing squirrel or whatever?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How many of those are going to sell? Are you going to sell 100 of them if you have them? Or is it going to be maybe a handful over 5 or 6 years, Yeah,
no, when I buy, it's kind of a bad example because I didn't buy specifically that card. It came in a lot of 1,000 Sports Illustrated for Kids cards or whatever. But
yeah,
a few copies of stuff like that is mascot cards. I sold a wild card surprise card today. Do you remember those when they would come in the packs? It just says
I know
surprise.
The name, but I wasn't familiar with them personally.
So back in the day, you could send it in and they would send you a surprise card. It was generally like some insert card or something like that. And you could pull these wild card surprise cards out of packs. And I had a few of those, so I listed those and I sold one. So why would you even want that? You can't mail it in anymore. It doesn't have any players on it. It literally just says wild card surprise on the front of it. But I sell a ton of checklists. I sell a ton of things that you wouldn't think would have much of a market. There are a lot of buyers for that stuff. Not in huge quantity. Are you going to sell 15 copies of that? Like you might sell 15 copies of a Brady card to one buyer, especially? Probably not. But
Right.
but yeah, keep it in, within the means,
Yep.
of your buying, and those are good things to have. They definitely draw a buyer in. When what amazes me is the different items somebody will buy. I'll sell like a Michael Jackson sticker card, and then an Emmitt Smith card, and then a Aaron Naismith rookie basketball parallel card, like all to one buyer. It's like and a Batman sticker, So you'll have buyers come in and they'll buy like a stack of all kinds of different stuff. You want to be able to serve them. You don't want that one card sale.
Yep. Absolutely. So we always talk about volume listings and how those are great. What I'm saying here, though, is use some reason when you're buying multiple copies to resell as well.
Yep.
To your example, I'll buy a stack of Tom Brady's any day, right?
Yep.
But I'm probably not going to buy a whole stack of Desmond Ritters,
Right.
So just keep that in mind as you're making your buys.
You know who else sells really well? Don Mikowski.
The Magic Man.
The Magic Man.
Yeah.
If you can find any good parallels of him, and he didn't have very many cards. He only played a couple of years, but
yeah.
But yeah, his stuff. And again, you're right. I would buy 100 Brady's. I wouldn't buy 100 Don Mikowski's.
Right.
So,
all right. Next. Impulses and emotions rarely pan out. If you don't know if they sell, try to do some research. Great example is the A-Team cards I bought. Still have them all. I even recently, some of you saw that in my videos, I bought a bunch of G.I. Joe cards. That was an emotional purchase. I was a huge G.I. Joe kid. Like, I watched that cartoon nonstop. I had all the comic books. I wanted some G.I. Joe cards, and maybe some others do too. But the market is not that strong for those.
no.
And the ones I got are not in the best condition either. So when you're dealing in impulses and emotions, my advice would be, if you're going to go out on a limb and do it, make sure it's something that you personally would be invested in if you don't mind keeping for yourself.
Yeah, I kind of had that same experience when I bought the set of South Park cards.
Mm-hmm.
You very rarely see them. They've only ever had one set, and it's such a popular show. And I do really well with Simpsons cards and things like that. So I paid up a little bit on them because I was just going to charge more for them essentially when I split them out. Now I've sold quite a few of them now, but it took me a while to really get them going. And it was like, but you're right, I kind of bought the same way. I didn't really look into it too much. I just kind of thought, I'll sell and all the main character cards sold pretty quick and for decent money. So at least I got a quick recovery that way, but everything else just kind of sat. So I'll be less, likely to jump on a set of those in the future unless I get them for a really good deal.
Right. And we have so much data at our fingertips now. I mean, eBay does a great job of providing their data, although I'm frustrated by the way they changed it up a little bit. Now I have to go to research for everything. But you can see, a year's worth of sales trends on just about anything at the click of a button. So you can see how much it's selling for, what the volume of sales is, all the variations that sell. So if you get something in mind that you're like, if I see something like this, I want to check it out, I would highly recommend you do a little research on it, especially if it's something non-sport, because I think there's a little more variance in what sells and what doesn't in non-sport. It's a tougher market to put a finger on. Adam's put a lot of hours into market research for non-sport, and he's got it down pretty well. But I think most of us are probably trying to wing it more often. So I've learned to use a little bit more caution when I'm diving into some of those. Don't let my childhood memories push me into a sale as frequently, although I admit it, G.I. Joe, that was all emotional buys. That was an impulse buy for me. So it still hits sometimes. What I'm saying is try to keep it in mind. Try to limit it if you can. Make an informed decision as often as you can.
Right on.
Condition matters unless it's a card with some scarcity. So what I mean by that is if it's a bigger card, bigger money or a rare card, it's not that big a deal to sell a card in lesser quality at a discount, right? But my note there at the bottom, I think it is really relevant. Who wants a $1.99 card that isn't near mint when you can click another button and find a million other copies of it that are near mint for the same price? So that is something that I'm trying to coach myself to take more care when I'm digging in boxes, to check the quality of the card and the condition a little better, because nothing frustrates me more than when I get some really low end cards home and I look at them under a little better light and I'm like, damn it, that's got a scratch. Damn it, that's got a stain. Or you flip it over on the back and you never looked at the back before you walked away and, there's something wrong with the back. I find it really difficult to sell low-end cards if they're not near mint or better. Now, as cards get rarer and more liquid, then I think you have more opportunity to take something that's not quite as high condition. But when you're dealing with the floor in your store, I think you're better off spending time on just near mint cards.
Yeah, and list them that way too. You want to make sure you have the condition listed correctly, because there's a lot of people that search just for near mint copies. You want to make sure that you're hitting those buyers. My one exception to this, I would say, is when you're looking at vintage. I think you can buy. So I've sold some pretty roached copies of, like, mainly like common cards.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why they sold. I don't know why anybody would buy them. But vintage buyers, there's a couple of different types of buyers in that. There's the ones that want the really minty, high dollar copies of stuff, and there's others that are like, well, I just want a copy of the card,
a placeholder.
Right, and the this one will be okay for now because it's a little bit lower budget, for me to get into. And then there are those that just buy the most beat up thing they can find because they like the story behind it. So, I mean, I found, like, literally they went through the wash and all kinds of stuff. And I listed them because I had them. They came in lots of other stuff or whatever. And I'm like, I'll just put it on there really cheap, $1.99, vintage common, and they sell. So I think it's different between the modern and the vintage. But you're right, as far as the modern goes, it's somebody's buying a base, Chronicles card or Donruss card, they expect that to be basically out of pack shape.
Right.
Yeah,
I definitely agree. Vintage cards, to me, they kind of align with more scarcity, or sometimes just perceived scarcity. So yeah, I didn't call that out, but I absolutely agree with you that when you get more vintage, you've got more leeway as well.
And I would argue they printed more 1987 tops than they did 2019 tops. So there's probably actually more of them, but they get lost over time. They get thrown out. They get beat up. They get destroyed, they get whatever. So you're still going to have loss, a lot of loss over time on cards like that. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I think the vintage is something where you can really look at, as long as you price them correctly. I think that's the biggest thing. Like don't comp out a vintage common and all the commons are going for like $4 a piece, but you got one that's really beat up. Okay, well you can sell it, but you can't sell it for $4. You got to try to sell it for the $2. So I think as long as you're and you note the condition in there correctly, has a crease, whatever. Pick the poor category, when you have to choose condition. I think as long as you do that and you price it appropriately, you can sell any one of those cards.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
but again, modern cards, if you're getting a 2023 Randy Orton WWE Chronicles card and one corner is just trashed, you're going to have a tough time selling that.
Yep.
So, all right, moving along. Grading is like scratch offs. You might win big, but probably not. I do grade some stuff. I've got an order. I've got 4 cards at PSA right now as we speak, actually. So I do some grading, but it's very, very little. And it's definitely selective. But I think grading is more for those high-end cards, or collectors that really want to preserve a card. I think the boom of grabbing every card out of a box and getting it graded and then making 200-300% on it is over. I missed those days. Sadly, I wasn't a part of those days, but I hear the stories about them. That said, I added there, doesn't mean you shouldn't do it once in a while. I think it's an experience everybody in this business should at least try once, to know what it's all about, how it works. Have some slab cards in your possession to be familiar with them. I would just say, at least in the low end business, use it at with some discretion. And you don't grade much either, right, Adam?
No, I did kind of early on when the prices were like $7 a card to grade, $5 to $7. Because I collect my PC is PSA graded barf stuff, but for my business model, and again, this goes back to the very original statement of you got to decide what you want to be in this. My business model is not the risk and reward. My business model is I buy this for $10 because I know I can sell it for 20.
Right.
And so I don't like the send it in and maybe I get this grade and I got to hold on to it until I get a pricing special and blah blah blah.
Right.
You can miss your flip time. I could have graded all his Anthony Edwards cards, but everybody's doing that right now, and the money's going to be gone.
Yeah.
Unless he keeps it going and they win the title. So I just decided that wasn't what I was going to fit into my business model. Now I've bought a lot of graded cards and resold them, so that I still participate in the graded card sales market.
Yeah.
I just don't do the raw to grade to flip kind of thing.
Right. And we talked, I think it was last week, we talked quite a bit about grading, and we every once in a while we get down this road of how subjective graders are, and do we need to bring AI into it? That's the risk to me. That's what makes it like scratch offs. You can open a pack fresh card, look at it 100 different ways under a microscope and every light you can think of, and say, this is a perfect card. I'm going to get a 10 on it, and you'll get it back sometimes with an 8.
Yeah.
And you have no control over that process. And you'll have no explanation.
Yeah, no, that is something that PSA is changing. They are going to be giving you an explanation for your grades going forward. It's not going to be on the slab, but it'll be on the submission information on your login on the website. So that's good. At least that's coming, and people kind of know where they're at.
Right.
That was the one thing that everybody liked about Beckett. Nobody grades with Beckett anymore, but that was nice that they had the subgrades. Centering got a grade, corners got a grade, surface got a grade. And you could go, oh, all 9.5s. Ooh, an 8 on surface. What did I miss?
Right.
And you kind of look at it a little bit, oh, there's a dimple right here, So, yeah, I think grading's come a long way. I don't think it's really at the point where it's enough of a sure thing. Like, I know what result I'm going to get. And so I choose not to fit that into my business model.
Agreed.
Same thing with ripping back packs and buying into breaks. I'm not a risk reward, buyer into my business. I want to buy something where I know I can sell it for a certain profit.
Yep.
So
yeah, I think there's a much better spot for it in the higher end market, but on low end stuff, I think it's just, it's kind of a fool's errand sometimes, right?
Well, I think in the high end market, it's pretty much a must, right? Like, I'm not going to buy a 69 mantle raw.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy the PSA 7, whatever grade fits my budget. I'm gonna buy that just because I want it authenticated, and there's such a range and condition on a card like that. That then you want it. You want it preserved. You don't want it flopping around in a mailer, to you, if you're spending a few $100 on it. So yeah, it really depends on the cards that you're into, I think.
That's very true. Yep. All right. Multi-card sales. This is the way, as the Mandalorians say.
Yeah.
So my note there is singles get you started, but multi-card sales get you paid. We've talked about this at length on how the multi-card sales save you a lot of the fees, save you a lot of shipping costs. That is really how you start to exponentially increase your sales revenue and your profits, really. So I think you have to keep that in mind, that in the end, that's my target, right? To build up more multi-card sales. And to do that, I also noted you got to prioritize promotions that sell those bigger orders. So the coupons that we talked about, and sending out that newsletter to remind people, hey, buy X amount and you're going to get this big discount with it, to start building up those multi-card sales.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, 40, 50 card sales, that's what you want. You reduce that transaction fee that digs in, your postage is a lot cheaper, you use less packing materials. Yeah, it's a no-brainer to try to get multiple card orders. And so kind of along these lines, I got contacted by eBay today to participate in one of their main store promoting spotlights, which I thought was pretty cool. So at the end of May, my store and my inventory will be promoted on the main site. And all I had to do was offer a 15% off coupon.
Yep.
To be able to participate. And now they're saying that sellers they've done this for before have seen more than double-digit increases in sales because of it. So I'm excited about that. I'm hoping to be able to come back and report that, hey, this is a good thing. But a big reason that I got that was because of the volume that I do. So the more cards you sell, the more you get. eBay will recognize you too. So not only are you getting paid by having these multiple card sales, you're getting all those sales numbers that are adding up on there, and that's helping you in the algorithm as well.
Yeah, it's really what you have to build everything around once you get going. And again, I called out the singles getting you started because early on, that's what you're going to get. And I still get more single sales than multi-card sales. I'm still in the building stage as well. A year in, I'm still building to that. But every, couple weeks, I start to get a few more multi-card sales, and it picks up a little more, and, and they become more common. But to do that, you've got to kind of set your store up right. You've got to set up the right promotions, and then it's on you to push that out frequently enough to keep that on top of people's minds.
Well, I think ultimately the thing you have to have is inventory. And
Yeah.
if you don't have the inventory, you're not. Yeah, so that's, your first couple of years should really be just be pushing, getting the listings. If you expect to make profit day one, that's not how businesses work. Unless you buy all the inventory ahead of time and can magically get it on there all in one shot. It's going to be a break-even venture for, even a couple of years, if you're putting a lot of your money back into the business. And then eventually, this, like I said, this past week, I didn't work a whole lot because I've been sick. On the sales portion, I've just been filling order, doing the things that I have to do to stick around, filling the orders and doing the customer service, but the orders just kept rolling in. I didn't really have to do much,
Right.
To get them, other than respond to some offers and things like that. So, okay, so I didn't list much in a week. I have 41,000 listings. I'll be okay, So, yeah, just the multi-card sales matter. And I think Charlie's right. You got to use the tools. Promotions, I still believe, I hate promotions. Everybody hates promotions, but I think they're good for this purpose. I think having multiple quantities of cards is beneficial. If you go through a box and you find a good deal on a card and there's 8 copies in there, don't go, well, I'm just going to buy 2. I don't want 10 copies.
Right.
It might be smart to just buy all 10. It's one listing. It's really quick. And you don't know how many people. I sell tons of, I'll take 2 copies. I'll take 3 copies. I'll take 5 copies of a card. Ones that'll even surprise you. You'll sell multiples of. So yeah, keep going after that inventory, and build that up, and you'll start seeing more and more of those multi-card sales.
Absolutely. Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It takes a while to get all that going.
Yeah.
Don't sweat the record keeping. Adam knows this, I was a spreadsheet guy. I spent a ton of time trying to track every card I was bringing in and every card going out when I started. And don't mistake this for financial advice or tax advice. But I've learned to just focus on what my average cost of a buy is. So when I go to a show, when you see my pickups videos, I often talk about my average cost per card I picked up that day is X, whether it's 20 cents, 30 cents, 40 cents. That's kind of the number I key on when I'm deciding, am I profitable in my sales? Then I keep track of my packaging costs, my shipping costs, and then a general margin I'm looking for on my cards. And that gives me an idea how profitable I am. I'm not going to spend time wondering if I made 60 cents on this card or $1.15 on this card and adding all that up regularly. I did that. And I got zero return out of it. And it took me longer to build my business up because I was spending time on that instead of listing and sourcing cards. It's a realistic example there down on the bottom. Your time is more valuable elsewhere rather than knowing exactly what you profited on. Was it 68 cents or 85 cents on that card? Does that really make a difference versus knowing your average numbers and saying, must have made about 75 cents on that card? Does that 5 to 10 cents sway really going to make a difference in the end if you're off a little bit? I don't think so. I don't think you need to be that detailed with it. So I think it's just an area where you gotta prioritize your time spent in this business. And I just don't see the results of trying to micromanage everything in and out. And that was my nature when I started. That's why I did it. I still have the spreadsheets. I haven't touched them in probably 6 months now once I finally learned this lesson. But I was there. Like every show, I detail it. If I had people, friends and family I bought cards from, I would keep track of how did that do? Do I want to kick them back some extra money if I did really well on that? I don't do any of that anymore. Like I make a transaction, I know what my general numbers are on it, and I move forward. What about you?
Yep.
Yep.
Look, and again, I don't like to get into this stuff either because I think everybody has to do their numbers their way, and you should get your own accountant and blah blah blah. But I've been basically reporting self-employed income for over 20 years, and Charlie's right. You have to know what's going in and what's going out, and have some proof of your expenses and things like that. But outside of that, you don't have to record every single thing that ever happens.
Right.
The make sure did you make money, did you not make money, make sure you're going to report things, stuff like that, the obvious things that are required by law. But outside of that, it's really up to you. Now, if you want to be ultra detailed like Charlie and put everything in a spread, there's nothing wrong with that. But he's right; it's not the greatest use of your time, and it's really going to be for you. It's not going to benefit. It's not going to do anything else. It's not going to improve your business. It's not going to help you get more sales. It's not going to help provide customer service. It doesn't do anything other than give you that that information that really isn't going to benefit you.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I keep track. I still have records for every amount I purchase at a card show. For every supply run I make, I keep those receipts and I track that. And then eBay does a fantastic job of keeping track of my sales for me at the end of the year.
Yep.
I have my cost of goods sold and I have my revenue. That's all I need.
Yeah, because ultimately at the end of the year, you're not going to report every 85-cent sale. You're going to report, I sold $40,000 in cards. I spent $10,000 on cards. I had 2,000, miles on my car, dropping off postage. I had, going to shows. I had 500 in envelopes I bought. You're going to they just want those main,
right,
all added up total numbers. And then they say, okay, after all that, this is what you made. This is what you got to write us a check for.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all I do. The big stuff, I do not go into a per card, type of detail. And again, that's me. I'm not recommending everybody do it that way, but I'm just sharing with you what I've learned as I went on this journey. All right, we're almost done with what I learned this year. It actually an hour to summarize what I learned in a year. Maybe I didn't learn that much. So there is no.
It's a good thing we're providing instructional videos.
There is no single path in this journey. Choose the one that works best for you and that you enjoy. Working closely with Adam, I've learned we can have the same cards in our stores and you'll sell 100 of them and I'll sell none, and vice versa. Sometimes I'll sell cards more frequently than you do occasionally as well.
Sure.
There's somewhat of a random algorithm path that people get to our stores, right? We can do things to kind of steer them, but ultimately there's still a point in the algorithm where it's like 1,000 stores have what this person is searching for. Which one am I going to put up there first, right? So just remember that as I share kind of what I've learned in my time so far, there's no one size fits all. You've still got to do what works best for you and what you find the most satisfaction from. Adam and I don't do things the same way. There's a lot of things that we kind of group think on and approach the same way, but there's just as many things that we don't agree on and we do differently, because that's what works for each of us, you know, especially when it comes to what are the things you're going to spend your time on in your business. That's where I think you can get the most diversification on how everybody does it. Agreed?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And also it depends on, you know, your own life. Like I do this full time, you don't, you know, you have kids, do you have up north to take care of? Do you have, you know, other responsibilities in your household? Are you just in an apartment all day long and can do whatever you want, you know, and can put 70 hours in a week and it doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, then you could take a little bit more time on stuff and don't have to use scanners and, you know, so it's really gonna, everybody's situation is a little bit different. Also, how much income do you need to make? Okay, well, I want to do this full time. Well, do you need $25,000 a year? Or do you need $150,000 a year?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to do different things to hit those two different numbers. So, yeah, I think ultimately most of us are here to try to turn a profit, and then once you figure that out, once you're making money, then you have to figure out how you want to expand it from there. The scaling, I think, is the biggest challenge for any business, and that's one of the things why I cautioned early on. You know, don't just scan, and upload all this stuff. You got to be able to make sure that you can actually handle the business.
Yeah, scale at an appropriate pace, right?
Yep.
All right, last one. And personally, I think this is the most important one. If everybody was going to tune out and just remember one of these, this would be the one. Take time to enjoy it, because you're going to quickly find out it's still work.
Yeah.
And Adam can attest to that. People say you're living my dream all the time, right? Like I heard it on your Oshkosh video I was watching the other day. Somebody said, you're living my dream right now. And I'm like, I don't know that everybody really understands what it takes to keep that dream going.
Well, yeah, and if you notice my response to that, I was like, well, you know, I mean, I work more than I did before, and, you know, yeah, it's every day you wake up, you got to make a buck. No one else gives it to you. So,
Yeah.
you know, there's definitely pluses and minuses. I like the freedom of the schedule. I like being able to work from home. I like that I don't have to sit on conference calls, useless conference calls 10 times a day to discuss things that should be in a memo.
Yep.
I love that I don't have to have the corporate jargon talk all day long. I can, you know, so there's a lot of upside to it. But yeah, I have to do all my own accounting. I got to do all my own organizing, all my own. I was sick for a week. Didn't matter. I had to work every day. I can't not ship orders. So, yeah. So if you are going to try to push to get to that point where you can do it full time for yourself, just know that it's everything looks better than what it actually is to some degree.
For sure. And I will tell you that, you know, I purposely list something like these Ren and Stimpy cards because I want to sometimes have a card in my hand that I can be like, if I was buying cards for myself, I would probably buy this. And there are cards that I will still stop and read the back on because I do love cards, baseball cards, football cards, whatever it is. Like I would be involved in cards even if I wasn't selling. So it's important to take a moment to feed that passion a little bit. It will help motivate you to keep going forward, but enjoy that. And I'll leave you with my final thought on that, I've got it there in front of you as well. Isn't a bad day working with cards still better than a good day filling out TPS reports?
Yeah, exactly.
I will take that swap any day.
Carly, I'm going to need you to come in on Saturday, okay?
Did you get that memo?
Did you get the memo? Yeah, we're going to need you here. That's such a
Yeah.
classic movie. Yeah, great coverage there. I think that was a great idea of something to put together, and you're much better at that stuff than me, so I appreciate you doing it.
Yeah, so I mean, we certainly don't want to go to school every week. We like to play pretty loose here and have a lot of fun. But we talk sometimes. We get new viewers and new people in the
Discord.
Discord. Yeah, it was escaping me
Yep.
there for a moment. And sometimes topics we've talked about before come up again. So every once in a while, I think it's good to kind of do something to just level set all that again. And this was just an opportunity for me to kind of go along with how we started this store, right? We've got a vet in yourself, and we had a newcomer in my store. And that's kind of what I've learned over the last year and what has evolved and now guides me every day in my business.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what this channel has evolved into too, is sort of helping others, I guess, that want to do what we do. So we constantly want new people in, and people that are looking for help or looking for, hey, how do I do this, or should I worry about that, or any kind of guidance or any experience we can provide, I think is going to be beneficial. So nice job on that.
Thanks. I hope some folks took some value out of it. And like I said, it can help them on their journey. Anytime we can pass along something for you to learn or assess quicker than just figuring it out on your own, we're happy to oblige. Because if I had someone to tell me everything I needed immediately through my life, I would have accomplished so much more by now.
Right. Well, you would and you wouldn't, because some things you just have to do on your own.
That's true.
I truly believe that. And you're not going to believe everybody else. And even if you do, your experience could be different than theirs. So
yeah,
I think it's good. I think it's good to have both, right? Have knowledge and experience from others, but then also do your own things to get your own experiences.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dumb crap I did as a kid where I'm like, well, but I needed to do it,
Yeah. Some lessons you just have to experience to learn them properly, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Well, should we jump back into the chat?
Yeah, let's go to the chat. And we've had a few people ask if there's going to be a quiz. So write down some quiz questions.
Don't worry, we're gonna grade on a curve.
Right. Bo says a presentation. You fancy? Yeah. Yes, we are. Is there going to be? I think he was asking a quiz. Yeah, ask a quiz after the presentation. Release day sprint for Bo with his Bowman.
Bo for
getting
Bo.
ready. You're right, Bo man. Getting ready for summer school. Yep, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
My kids' school ends early here because they're doing a big construction project.
Oh, okay.
But they started school early and they get done early, so summer is like sooner than normal. Like second week of May, they're done.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you guys send offers? I do. I just talked about that earlier, where I was getting pretty big numbers for sending, and so I started doing them in bulk. But yes, I do, of course.
Every day, all day.
Every day, all day, pretty much. Great advice, Charlie. Charlie's jockey card that sold recently is a good example of people buy anything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Jockey card.
Oh yeah. 80s WWF is a great seller. 90s WCW crickets.
Mm-hmm.
See, no, I've actually sold a pretty good amount of 90s WCW. Classic games, the classic games cards and stuff. Those have done okay. But I don't have a ton of wrestling, so that was probably a good bulk of mine. Got them for free, or they were in other stuff, or whatever. So I'm sure I would have done better had I had 80s WWF stuff. Crap, I need Cliff Notes to pass the quiz. It's open book. It's open book. Okay, so you can use your notes.
I was gonna come out with one of those For Dummies books, but Jeff Wilson beat me to it.
Yep. MD says I was a spreadsheet guy too, Charlie. That went out the window after I dumped my first accountant after a week. Waste so much time on a task that doesn't make you money. Yeah. It's kind of funny he says that because I fired my first accountant too. The first year I reported self-employed income, I didn't want to do the tax reporting myself. I kind of wanted like an outline, right? I wanted somebody to do the first year and then I could do it after that. And it was pissing me off because I was working a job too. And I'd get a call from him like every couple hours, like, hey, can you bring me these receipts or what are these numbers? And I'm like, dude, if I'm giving you all the information, why don't I just fucking type it down myself?
Right.
You excuse my language. But I soon realized like I'm paying this guy a lot to just type numbers in, especially now with all the AI software and all that, you can do taxes pretty easily.
Yeah.
And your accounting pretty easily. So one side note to this, if you're a QuickBooks person, you can export your eBay stuff directly into QuickBooks too.
Yeah.
So if you don't like, how eBay keeps track of your sales and things like that, there are some alternative software methods that work with them that you can use. So I think it's actually a healthy task the first couple of weeks, month when you start, though, to make sure you're buying inventory at the correct numbers. Yeah, big time.
Yeah, I think he's right. Yeah.
I also think it's okay if you screw up on a couple.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's not big numbers, I think you have to make a few mistakes, starting out in order to really get a handle on it. Because I think as soon as something costs you money, you really start paying attention. Dan is here. Evening all. Was busy helping things, getting set up for a family garage sale tomorrow. Just go ahead. It's not at my home. Did you put cards out? Hopefully you put cards out. Nice work, Professor Charlie. Yes, Charlie wears multiple hats on this channel. As not only is he the tech guy, he is now the professor.
It's those dual paychecks.
That's right. That's right. I feel like I'm still the one who benefits the most because it's my channel. I didn't have to do any of the work. Right?
Yeah.
From what I've seen,
you give me subs though. You get me subs.
Right, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, hopefully. And I did kind of show you how to do some stuff. So
you did.
From what I've seen, most people that go full time live in an area where it is low cost of living is thus critical. It depends on. I said that kind of during the presentation. I think it really depends on what you need. If you're going to be the main income person and try to pay for self-employed health insurance, and you got a kid and a house, and you want to take 2 vacations a year, you're going to have to really build to something to get those kinds of incomes. If you just need, 20, 30,000 a year, in a low cost of living, well, then you could do that. So, and do that a little bit easier and quicker. So I believe the sky's the limit. I think you can make as much as you want, but you got to work for it. And you might have to, as you're expanding, you might have to expand your business out further too, and hire employees and rent office space. And there are other low card sellers that's how they make their living. Big ones that are doing 20,000 transactions a month on eBay. So
yeah,
if you can build yourself up to that, I don't see why you couldn't make and one of those big businesses is in LA. It doesn't get any more expensive than that for cost of living. Is there a certain method you use uploading cards as far as alternating your sport? Kind of. We've talked about this in the past. We sort of, right now I'm trying to get all my basketball and baseball up, the rest of what I got, because that's the stuff right now. Basketball's in the playoffs, and baseball is well underway in the season. I have some hockey too I want to put up. So I'd rather focus on that than a bunch of football where that season isn't even in preseason at this point. So,
Yeah.
so I'll do that, but I don't know. I kind of don't when I'm scanning. I just sort of grab a stack of cards and I scan them because it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, you're pretty random. Whatever hits your fancy when you see a stack of cards.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different as you get up to a higher number of listings. It doesn't really matter. I have a bunch of baseball listed. I have a bunch of basketball, So if I happen to have a stack of, baseball, like here, this is mostly baseball. It's a lot of Griffey. Oh, you can't see that. Here. It's a lot of Griffey, Judge, stuff like that. But here's Ben Roethlisberger, and I don't know. I just scan them in and I list them. It's just because there's a certain season going on or there's certain players that are popular doesn't mean you can't make other sales. I had a 15 card Barry Sanders sale today. So should I not be listing Barry Sanders right now because it's not football season? Well, no, that doesn't make sense. What did I have? Somebody yesterday. I sold a bunch of Bowman Chrome University football, random players. So I think you can sell anything really at any time. So you just need to get them on there. Don't worry too much about which one goes in where.
Yeah, and I rotate daily. It took me a while to figure out a routine that made it work for me. And this goes back to one of my points. You got to do what you enjoy and what works for you. So I eventually got down to this routine where every day of the week I list a certain category. So Mondays always MLB Mondays for me. Tuesdays are tip-off Tuesdays for basketball. Wednesdays are my wild card Wednesday where I can do whatever I want and do most of my non-sports, like these guys that I never heard of from these Yo MTV Raps cards. Tomorrow will be Turbo Thursdays where I do all my racing, football Fridays, and then weekends are kind of hit or miss. It's another wild card day for me because I don't necessarily have to list if I don't want to on the weekends. I kind of use that at my discretion. So when I do list, I'll grab, maybe I feel like I'm a little behind on a stack of something and I might grab those. But it helps me to rotate daily through the week so I don't get bored listing the same kind of stuff every day.
And that's why I just kind of grab whatever. It's less likely to get boring. No, when I'm listing by hand, so I'm doing shiny stuff where it's not scanned, then I kind of sort them by sport because it's easier when I go in and I'm choosing I have to choose what sport it is and my store category and things like that. It's easier for me to do that where it's like basketball, after one after another. I already have NBA chosen. I already have basketball as my sport, blah blah blah. And then I'm just changing a couple of details. When I list card to card. So for me, that adds some convenience and some time saving. So then I'll do it that way for that. But as far as the stuff I can scan and list in Card Dealer Pro, no, I just scan it and list it. So let's see. I put base bulk cards in small boxes for $5, and they always sell day one. In the past, if I am there, then I will do a quarter box.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see that. Mainly base that doesn't sell from ripping wax with the boys. Been listing lots of basketball and still mostly sell football lately. Bowman U is fire. Yeah, that's kind of been my experience too. Football, I don't even really watch football or anything. Well, I don't really watch hardly any of the sports. But football's always been my biggest seller. So I've made that's going to be my mainstay probably forever in the store. I'm going to continually buy lots of the players that sell consistently there and actually pick up rookies every year and stuff like that. Football just does the best for me as well. So if you got to find your niche, if you're a baseball guy, I'm sure your baseball stuff does the best for you. But I also think that's smart too, because we're all in competition. But if all our stores are slightly different and have slightly different focuses, we can still each find success in our own
Sure.
ways. You know, I'm not directly competing with Charlie when I sell a lot more non-sport and he sells a lot more baseball, right? So I expect him to get more baseball sales than I do. He expects me to get more non-sport sales than he does, um, because we've built out that way. So there's no right, there's no wrong. You just have to figure out what works for you.
For
So
sure.
we're caught up in the chat. Holy cow, that's
See
crazy.
that?
Yeah. That was a presentation. Should we kick off a little bit of some national conversation? Speaking of Dan, who was just on here a little bit ago, he's confirmed he's going to Cleveland with us. Well, he lives in Cleveland, right? Or he lives right outside of Cleveland.
I think so.
So we have our tour guide kind of set up, so that'll be kind of nice. What do you think about renting a car, or are we just going to drive a car? Or we never really discussed any.
Yeah. I was assuming we were gonna take one of our vehicles, but might be smarter to rent a van or something.
Yeah, I was just thinking, that way you don't have to deal with, potential insurance claims or blown tires or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
It'll come with an iPass for the tolls.
yeah, well, I have an iPass, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just kicking that around, like maybe renting one would make some sense. I've done U-Haul rentals and stuff for other conventions and that, so I'll take a look into that this week.
I don't know that we need a U-Haul, but we could get like
no.
a family van type rental or
Right,
something.
right.
You know?
Yeah, I was just saying I've rented vehicles for like trips, these kind of driving trips before. We just have to see if it's cost effective or not, what they want to charge.
Yeah. There's going to be 3 of us on the ride. Okay.
Yep.
And then a bunch of boxes on the way back.
A lot of boxes, but you can even in a car you can stack quite a few boxes in there.
Yeah.
So, and Ethan won't be buying nearly the quantity we will be. He'll come back with a little bit. But you're going to have some luggage, and you'll have all that happy stuff. Snack bags will go with us, but they probably won't come back. So we should free up some room doing that. And,
Oh, we may take up more room coming back, though.
We might, yes. It's a good possibility. But yeah, I plan to bring at least 2 5,000 count boxes, maybe 3. We'll see. And I pretty much plan to fill them. So
yeah,
it's the best opportunity to buy like crazy. It was funny. I was just talking to Ethan about this, and I only spent like $1,800 or something last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I brought a ton of money, and I came back, and I'm like, man, I got all this cash left. And I had bought, a few boxes, for rip for special packs, and I'd bought some of that stuff too. But when you're buying cards for, dime box cards, and you're buying 1,000 of them at a crack for like $80, you're not really spending that much money, and you're filling a 5,000 count box.
Yeah.
So not that much money can go a long way, for sure. But the other thing we need to know, or at least I do, when we get there, is where's these value box sellers located in this show?
Right.
I know right where they are in Chicago.
Okay.
And I get there first, but no idea where they are going to be here. So, so we've got some things to figure out. I think it's going to be a fun trip, though.
How would you figure out before you get there?
I'm hoping they're going to have some sort of a dealer map.
Okay.
Kind of telling you where the dealers are.
So then you have certain dealers you've gotten familiar with over the years.
Yeah, no, assuming they're going to be at this show. I don't know if every dealer is at every national, but Even if you can find a few, or maybe they'll designate an area like this is box, value box sellers or something like that. Because kind of how it works in Chicago, they're all sort of in one same area.
Okay.
For the most part. I mean, there's plenty of dealers everywhere that have some value boxes, but I'm talking the big ones where it's like 65,000 cal boxes just all laid out, and you can dig for days. So we'll see. I'm sure we'll stumble upon them, even if we don't find them ahead of time. It's just, as you know, being there first is a big benefit.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna blow my nose real quick.
Oh boy, everybody hold tight. It's gonna be a big one. All good?
Yep, better now. I still can't get past that. I still got a little bit of.
I can hear the congestion. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not fun.
It's a good thing we did what we did tonight, and then you didn't have to talk as much because I can hear it in your voice too. It's a little strained.
Yeah, I was happy when you were like, I put something together. I'm like, oh, thank God. I'll take some of the night off. What's your opinion on scan cards? Started scanning all my cards and sales seems slower. Just curious your thoughts. I think it just seems slower because you probably got a lot more on quicker and you expected a bunch of sales and it's just not how it is.
Yeah.
I sold plenty of the cards that I scanned, so I don't really notice a negative side to doing it. Just because you're scanning them doesn't mean you're going to get more sales either, right?
Yeah.
I don't think people are specifically buying because the card is scanned. It's a time-saving feature for you, but I don't like me as again, one of the reasons I wasn't into scanning right away. Me as a buyer, I don't really like the scanned cards that much. I like a photograph because to me it's the eye appeal. I want to see what that card really looks like. Versus the scanner kind of fancies it, right? Makes it look flattened out and no shine and all that kind of stuff. So, to each his own, but no, you shouldn't, just because you scan the card in shouldn't decrease your sales as long as you have a quality scan.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, is there any difference in this image if I take it with my phone versus it going through a scanner? Not really.
Not really.
No. It's a basic white card, nothing shiny or shimmery on it. Like, some people wouldn't even know the difference. Like, if you're not looking for that, I don't think you would know. Yeah, same there. Yeah.
One of the things I like with Card Dealer Pro is I have my banner logo at the bottom of the photo in my listings. And I actually like that. I think that helps sort of promote my business. I've gotten a lot of multiple card sales where it's all cards where it's my banner on the bottom. Mm-hmm. So I think it helps maybe a buyer realize, these are this guy's sellers doing these. So there's some advantages to scanning that way too, but although you can add the banner to a non-scan card in Card Dealer Pro, I guess too, but I think most people are using Card Dealer Pro. They're doing it because they're scanning cards.
Right.
That would make the most sense. So, but no, I don't think scanning would decrease your sales for any particular reason. How many cards are you targeting to pick up at the National? We just kind of covered that. Probably 10,000 would be my target. Last time I picked up about 7,500 last year, or maybe a little bit more than that. Let's say 8,000, just for a round number. But I got like 1,200 or so police cards for free before the National even started. So I probably bought like 6,000. So I'm hoping this time to buy like 10.
Okay.
But that being said, if I'm not finding cards that I can buy to resell, I'm not going to buy 10,000 cards. I still need my margin, so we'll have to see what the experience is. From what I've talked to with other dealers and other buyers and resellers and stuff like us, the Chicago show has always kind of been the best for that because the dealers can put their prices a little bit lower. It's less expensive there, in the Midwest, and so I don't know if Cleveland's going to be vastly different from that, but
I
we'll
wouldn't
have to
think
see
so.
I wouldn't think so either, but we'll have to see what they have. So I'd really like to pick up a lot of non-sport. I killed it in non-sport last year from that show. I'd like to get a lot of Sports Illustrated for Kids stuff, and just kind of some of my regular things that I don't find at shows up here. Will probably be my biggest targets, and then just my players that I know I can sell. Buy a lot of Barry Sanders, a lot of Derek Jeter, things like that. easy movers. What about you?
Well, so I will likewise bring 2 monster boxes, but I would be shocked if I fill more than one. You know, you have to remember this is my first national. Part of me is going to be a tourist, and it's going to be about the experience and take it in the experience the first time. I will still be buying, but I have a feeling I'm going to have a lot more distractions than maybe you will.
Yeah.
Just because I want to take it all in. And at this point, I don't know. Is it going to be my one and only? I don't know. Is it going to be something I go to every year? I don't know yet. So I want to make sure I take it in. I enjoy it as much as possible. I don't personally have any pressure to bring home any certain amount of cards. That's the difference of being a part-time seller and a full-time seller, right?
Yeah, sure. For sure.
Like for you, it is, hey, I need to feed my store for a good chunk of the next year, right?
Right.
For me, it's let's see what this is all about. Let's meet some people. I do expect that I am going to find a lot of cards that I don't find around here in the same, kind of price levels that we would be looking for. So maybe I'll come home and I'll have a completely different type of card set that I would come home with normally. And that's going to just be the win for me in whatever amount, so I'm excited about it. But definitely for me, there's a big part of it that's just going to be somebody on vacation.
Yeah, and there's tons of stuff to do there. It's not just cards. There's different games to play. There's different media events. There's the breaker hall. You can go watch them break boxes, which is kind of fun.
Yep.
There's PSA's whole area. There's all the corporate areas. So you've got Fanatics set up and eBay, and there's promotions. Give stuff away. Golden will be there. With some of their big cards on display that they're going to be auctioning off. So you get to see like PSA 10 Jordans and 52 mantles and stuff like that. There's a whole memorabilia area where you're going to see like Babe Ruth signed bats and Pele signed soccer balls, and you gotta experience a lot of that. That's a big part of it for sure, especially your first one. I've been to 7 of them now, so this will be my 8th one. Okay. So I have a general feel for what it's like, and the Topps booth is kind of boring because it's basically just buy boxes for redemption packs.
Okay.
So it's just lines of people that have their cases of boxes that they're looking to get their free packs for. Panini's kind of the same way. So you can do a lot of stand and wait, just like at every convention. If you want to participate in that, we waited at Panini forever, and it totally wasn't worth it. The silver packs sucked.
Yeah.
But the year before when I went, the silver packs were amazing, and I made a ton of money off the cards. So you kind of have to have some sort of general layout of what you want to accomplish there, and I think it's smart, Charlie, to not just focus on picking up inventory, but maybe looking for some PC stuff and taking pictures of some different things, and you'll still have plenty of time to do the other stuff. The biggest piece of advice there is just don't do that on Wednesday. Yeah. Wednesday's preview day. Not everybody gets in. It's VIPs only, which we have. and that's the first day those card boxes are put out.
Sure.
So that's the day you want to just, it's shortened day. Yeah, that's a shortened day. I think it opens at 3 and it ends at 7 or 8 or something like that. A lot of the corporate stuff isn't even set up yet because it's just a Wednesday night, you know. That's your day to go just box dig and get as much stuff as you can, get it done, you know, and then Thursday you can start to kind of, you know, ease into some of the other experiences. Saturday is the best day to not box dig because everybody is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the largest day of attendance. You're gonna have the most people there.
Okay.
And that's the day where they have a lot of the stuff going on. You know, you're gonna see Jeff Wilson live, you know, on stage doing some presentation thing, and you'll have, you know, box battle stuff, and you'll have, you know, some of the bigger athletes will be there, just randomly walking the halls or signing autographs at some random little booth.
Right.
You know, all the vendors will be there for the Saturday, so everything that should be set up will be set up. So I think that's the biggest thing is to just sort of plan the days out appropriately, and you can really do all. I mean, I did plenty of not box digging last year. I went and talked to the crypto card guys for a while, and then I went over by the. I spent a lot of time at the Garbage Pail Kids machine and putting quarters in and getting the Garbage Pail
Yeah, I
Kids.
remember you saying that. Yeah.
The custom Garbage Pail Kids cards because it was so much fun. I did some live auction stuff. I went and wrote in bids on like some autographed jerseys and stuff. You know, there's lots of different things to occupy your time with, and then you kind of want to bookend it. And then Sunday to later Sunday is going to be your day to clean up and get the best deals. So I bought from a big breaker late Sunday. Ethan and I did. Had tons and tons of monster boxes. They wanted at the beginning of the show, they wanted $1 a card. They were down to like 30 cents.
Okay.
On that Sunday, and I found a ton of good stuff in there. Some good soccer, which I really struggled to find soccer last year. Lots of basketball, like Prism parallels and stuff like that. Some bigger name players in that too. And you know, once it drops to 30 cents, you know, there's still some good stuff in there because people aren't paying $1 for it. But it makes sense at 30 cents. And then of course, you do your bulk. So, you try to get a little bit better deal than that. So that's kind of your day they don't want to take it with them. Breakers have no interest in bringing 5,000 count boxes of cards back with them.
Right.
They're going to fill up more of them in the next couple months, you know, and have to do this all over again. So they'll sell whole boxes to you for good prices and stuff once Sunday hits.
Sure.
Those are kind of and again, on Sunday, there isn't as much going on. You know, later in the day, everybody's kind of getting ready for takedown and that kind of thing. So I think if you can focus those 2 days really on doing your buying and getting your deals, I think the rest of the week you can kind of do what you want, maybe hit a table here or there, you know, as you see fit, but you don't have to spend all day digging. I did not spend 8 hours a day digging there's no way. You'd die. And you do want to have some fun in the experience. There were a lot of times where we would have left the show. We're like, I'm tired of walking around. I'm going to go back to the hotel and get a lunch, you know, sit and have a drink and, you know, watch a baseball game for an hour or so and then head back out. Now, we can't really do that at this show because we're not connected, which does kind of suck, but you can take breaks from the hall. There's going to be spots where you can go have a snack and sit and open a box of cards, you know, whatever you want to do. But I've been to a lot of really, really big conventions, not just sports conventions, different ones. And just kind of knowing what days are best for what is probably your best approach.
Sure. Makes sense.
And then to some degree, keep it open from there because you don't know what's going to be there or what you're going to run into. So if you kind of have those general outlines, like it was always when I do the Star Wars conventions or even San Diego Comic-Con, it was like, okay, Saturday, this panel is here at 11. So I got to stand in line from 9 to 11 to get into this thing. And then the Funko Pop sale goes on sale at this time. So you sort of planned it out, but you still had. I always had chunks of time where I could just do what I want, in
Right.
case something else would pop up. I think that's really the key to it.
And comfortable shoes.
Yeah, wear comfortable shoes. I want to go talk to Dan, my buddy Dan, who's the CEO of Wildcard. I want to go talk to him for a little while at Wildcard and pick up some cool stuff there. He always throws T-shirts at us and stuff. And I got to bring my 1,000 stripe Favre because before he even said hi to me last year, that was the first thing he said. You bring that 1,000 stripe? I'm like, no. I gotta bring it. I think that's gonna be my bargaining chip to get some stuff out of him if I bring it to the show. So you want to do that, and I like to film, so I want to get around and film some things and try to put something together with that. We'll do a live on Wednesday night from our hotel, which will be fun. It'll be the first time we do a live where we're actually in the same room.
Right.
I'm kind of looking forward to that. And then, yeah, just a lot of card sorting, a lot of you and I will probably list while we're there.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have the scanner and we'll flip between the two PCs and we'll just list stuff. And yeah, I think it'll be fun. It's going to be much more of a road trip than I've had in a while. So that I think is going to be if anything, I think that's going to be the hardest part. You've got that long sitting trip, and then you've got a ton of standing on concrete, crouched over boxes for 4 or 5 days, and then you've got another 7-hour drive, 8-hour drive home. So
luckily we have limber bodies.
Right. Yeah, I take my vitamins. Yeah, the other thing, since we're kind of going over tips, the comfortable shoes thing, I like to have a backpack. I know a lot of guys use like roller bags and stuff like that. I don't. That hasn't been what I've seen to be the best approach to the shows. I know some people have like the pop-out chairs and they'll use stools and stuff, and they'll use those so they've got somewhere to sit when they're going through boxes. That could be a good thing. I've just never bothered with that because to me it's just one more thing to carry around.
Right.
But hydration is going to be the biggest issue. It's a lot of people in there. It gets hot. It's you've got all your stuff on and your bag on and all that. So I use hydration packets. I'll bring some of those for us. And you just throw that right in your water, in the bottle in your water, and it like 10 times the amount of hydration you would normally get out of the water. So that's,
I don't know if anything beats a good old fashioned glass of beer and a pretzel.
Yeah, well, it's gonna take you an hour and a half to get through the line to get one, and it's gonna cost you $25 for those. Beer is not the best hydration tool. And then on top of that,
what are you talking about?
You got to try to get to the restrooms. So there's that too. But yeah, and like I said, I don't know much about this Cleveland Convention Center. I've never been there. So maybe they do a little bit better with the food layout. It's not that great at Chicago because they have a ton of like concession stands built into the walls. That they do for different conventions, but they don't open very many of them.
Okay.
So there really isn't any seating. There's a couple of like high top tables at each one. So if you're lucky enough to get a spot there, you can kind of stand and eat. So maybe Cleveland does a little bit better with the job with this. The Cleveland show is smaller than the Chicago show by like 50,000 square feet, quite a bit. So it's a little bit easier to sort of get through it all, and that way. Hopefully there'll be like food trucks outside would be cool. I'd like to do something different than the Chicago show. I never really do anything outside because the hotel's connected, so it's always just inside and skywalks, and I don't see outdoors for 5 days. Park my car and I leave it there. So we're gonna have a little different experience of that, and that's the other thing. We have to drive there and drive back every day. So time planning is a little bit different. Now, if you buy a 5,000 count box of stuff, one day at the show, are you going to want to carry that around? You might want to run that back out to the car. So
True.
then you have that to do too. So, but yeah, I think overall if you make Wednesday and Sunday your big buying days, your focused buying days, you can kind of do whatever else you want the rest of the week, and you'll easily be able to pick up 5,000 to 10,000 cards.
Yeah.
With that plan. I think once you go to this first one, you're gonna want to go again. It's pretty damn cool. Especially considering the next two are like 3 hours from our house.
Yeah, back in Chicago.
I mean, it really makes sense to go. There's kind of no reason not to. I'm a World Hyatt member, so I get really nice rooms for cheap. It's a skywalk across. Like the Chicago show it's laid out perfectly for that show. So, but I'm excited for Cleveland too. Like I said, I haven't been there. I've heard good things about Cleveland. I've heard bad things about Cleveland, but there's bad things about Chicago too. So, but I think it'll be fun. I haven't done a like a non-Florida trip, a non-California trip, a non-Chicago trip in forever. It's always been those locations.
Yeah.
That I've had events in. I was in San Diego, I was in San Jose, I was in LA. 3 different occasions for different events, and then obviously Chicago for the Star Wars Celebration in 2019, and then a couple of sports shows, and then Florida. I was at 2 conventions in Florida, in Orlando. So those tend to be the destinations that I end up at because I go to conventions, and that's where they have them. So
right.
I know we talked about doing like a Vegas card show at some point. And I don't know if Fanatics would put that on or how that would go, but that would be kind of interesting.
Amazing.
Yeah, that would be interesting. So maybe we'll have, one more alternative one to plan, going forward. But I really think they're going to focus in the Chicago area because it's just the best place for the show.
Yeah.
Being so centralized, O'Hare is right there. The convention center is ginormous. Other than the fact that they don't turn the air conditioning on, it's perfect. Robert says, I thought it may make your store look confusing to see 2 or 3 baseball, then 6 or 8 football. I do like you just doing stack at a time. I don't think people look at it that way. I don't think they're just going to your store and looking at every new card you list. I also have categories. So, like, for example, if I scan all these in, they're going to, like, these are all Griffey. So these are going to go into my Griffey category in my store plus baseball. If I had a bunch of Barry Sanders, they go into my Barry Sanders category. So most of my shoppers, I think, shop that way. And I did buy my own, like, .com for my store. It's, what's the address? I forget. Oh, the dollarbox.shop. And when you go there, it pulls everything up by categories right away. So
yeah.
it's not relevant for when I scan what in. It kind of sorts itself. The only way that would really become an issue is if somebody was just looking up new listings, then it would maybe kind of have them mixed up. But still, I think that's good because unless you're getting somebody that's looking just for Ken Griffey Jr. stuff, I want other stuff to show up if someone was looking for new. What do you think, Charlie?
Well, I think the eBay store lists it the same way by categories right away. I was just looking at mine. So if I visit my store and see what anybody else would see, there's featured categories at the top, there's newly listed, and then there's featured items, and then way down below is all items. But if I do recall, like, you have to check that you want to use like those featured categories and stuff.
Yep.
So, and I think the featured categories ribbon has just like 6 that you can select. But then there's a little, what do they call it? A hamburger where you can click it open and see all the categories in your store on the left-hand margin. So the eBay store is set up to work that way as well.
It's actually called a kebab. Okay.
A kebab.
It's a kebab. Well, if it's three dots, it's a kebab. If it's three lines, I think you're right. It could also be called a hamburger.
That's what we call it at work all the time.
Yeah. So I don't think there's a right or a wrong, but
maybe it's a Wisconsin thing too.
I just like the word kebab. In
California, they call it a kebab.
Right. They had a dealer map at last year's show. Yes, they did. So there's a floor plan listed, but it is just showing the big players shown on there for now. Correct. Yeah, I'm hoping they'll at least, and that's what I saw too, Dan, so I'm on the same page with you. I'm hoping they'll at least update it and be like bargain box alley. They try to give us some direction of where dealers are going to be. And maybe maybe you've been to a Cleveland show before and you kind of know where those dealers, if you were into this stuff then, if you kind of know where they set up. But that's the biggest thing. Got to find that first before anything else. Bringing an empty car, hoping to come home full. Exactly. They do have dealer and location info on the national site now, but it is in 2 documents. Okay. Got to think about that. I don't think I saw that on there, but it's been like maybe a week since I last checked. Maybe they just updated that, so I'll have to go back in and look. Yeah, I know which dealers to look for. Should I tell Charlie? That is the question. Or should I make him just wander around aimlessly at this show for the first time and try to figure out what the hell he's doing? I think that could be more entertaining. We'll just strap a camera to him and see what happens. Like a bell on a cat, right? Let's see. I went to the Toronto show last fall and I was overwhelmed. This spring, I knew more of the dealers and the better tables and definitely did a much better job getting more hockey inventory. That's awesome, Art. I don't know much about hockey buying, so yeah, you'd have an advantage on me for sure. I'd like to go to the National, but I don't know that I can justify going to 3 big shows in a calendar year. Yeah, for me, I kind of think that way too, because there's a couple other big Chicago shows each year, but I've heard kind of mixed results from people on them, and I sort of feel the same way. Like I had so much inventory from this last year national. Granted, I didn't have a scanner, for a good chunk of that time, but it took me most of the year, and I still have some stuff left to list. It took me most of the year to list all that, so I don't know that I would need to get. I don't want to have an inventory that's going to sit around that I can't list. There's no point in that either. So. Yeah, the National for me is, I love it. I've been going to it for a long time. First one I went to when I was like 16 or something like that. So, in Chicago, because it was in Chicago every year for like ever. And I love it. I like it there. I can get what I need from it. And the other thing with the other big shows is they all cost money to go to. It's not like, okay, well, I'll go to this show in my area this weekend and this show, next weekend. Well, if you don't buy anything, it's no big deal. All it took you was your time and your gas money or whatever to get to it. Versus these bigger shows, it's a couple $100 to get in for the weekend. And you got a hotel expense and more driving and gas and all that. It's like, how much extra expense do you want to take on if you're not really needing the inventory?
Right.
I have a good buddy that's part of the breaker area, so I'll be visiting him and probably join a hobby break or two. Awesome. I've thought about joining one of those live breaks just because, like, you throw your money down and you literally sit in front of the table. I mean, they film it, of course, but you can literally just watch the break right there. And it looks like fun, so maybe this year I'll do something like that. I hope Topps silver packs are as good as last year and made great money off of those. Yeah, the Topps silver packs are definitely better than the Panini packs. You don't get as many of them, and For me, the biggest problem was there weren't really Topps products that I wanted because there's only certain products you can buy from certain dealers that you get packs for. So I'm really hoping that some of this new unlicensed football and basketball stuff is going to be a part of it because I'm going to buy some of that anyway. So it'd be awesome to get that with some silver packs. The line takes forever. You got to sit there forever to get your packs. But yeah, I agree. From what I saw, I didn't get any Topps packs last year, but from what I saw, they were better than the Panini packs. Do your browsing on Thursday through Saturday. Yep, I feel the exact same way. Spend 80% of your cash Wednesday and Sunday. Yep.
Okay.
Any MLB or Cleveland Guardians game planned? I always try to hit a few stadiums when I'm on the road. Good question. I don't know. I've been to Wrigley like 1,000 times. I have a friend who's like a head security guy there, so I get really cool tours. When I go, I get to see like Ricketts' office and stuff. But I wouldn't mind going to a Guardians game. That would be pretty fun. We'll have to look into that. They have a wall of concession stands in the front, and there is an area for food trucks inside.
Okay.
Awesome. That's good to hear. For the most part, the way I do food is I really load up. Breakfast matters. Okay. So I know you like to sleep in, Charlie, but you're not sleeping in on this trip. We're going to get
10
ourselves
o'clock, rise and shine.
10 o'clock, rise and shine. We're going to find a good breakfast spot, whether it's our hotel or a place nearby or whatever. Get a big loaded up breakfast, spend your 10, 12 bucks on a really good breakfast, 15 bucks. And then the rest of the day, you can kind of bring your snacks with you or do whatever. And then just plan to eat later at night. Show ends at 7, 8 o'clock. Get back to your hotel, you go out to eat, whatever we're going to do. Then you have that meal. So that's always kind of worked for me. If there's some good food trucks there, prices are reasonable, lines are reasonable. I'll pick up a few, snack items as the week goes. But like $15 for a hot dog just kind of sucks. So I tend not to eat much at conventions.
What's the date on the national? Is it the 24th through the 28th?
I think that's right.
So the Guardians are at home against the Tigers on Wednesday and Thursday night, and then they go on the road.
Yeah, 24th through the 28th. Okay. Yeah, we'll have to see if that fits in. Sometimes I feel like I don't want to cram a bunch of stuff in either, I want to be able to get done with, and I am there for work. Unlike Charlie as much, but
I'm still working.
I know, but you know what I mean. Like I have to get the work done. Let me ask, will they let you bring a buggy like we take to the beach or a soccer tournament for all your goodies, or would buggies just be everywhere and madness? Now, again, I can't speak for the Cleveland Convention Center because I've never been there, but Chicago allows you to bring in like little wheeled carts and nothing powered, obviously, but I've seen plenty of people walk around with dollies and stuff like that. So that's fine if you want to do that. I like mobility. To me, has a lot of value at a show like this. I want to be able to get from here over to this table here, especially because I kind of have a runner with me. So I'll kind of send Ethan around to look at other tables, and he'll pop back and say, "Hey, you got to come over here. They got a lot of soccer, stuff like that." So I want to be able to continue to move. Now, when I buy big bulk, that's going to be the challenge at this show for me. From other shows I've been to, I got to decide if I want to run stuff out to the car or I want to start piling my backpack full. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. But my guess is, especially on probably not Wednesday because it's a short hours, but maybe on Sunday, if I start buying out boxes because it's the end of the show, that might be where I actually take a trip back to the car and come back to the show again to kind of finish up. But we'll see what happens.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I wish I remembered to eat and drink and go to the bathroom every day there. No time for that. It's kind of true. Kind of true. Too much to do. I kind of take that back on the bathroom thing. I pretty much went at least once every day. Now, Chicago wasn't a big deal. I could walk right in, pee, walk right out. You know, it was pretty quick. So I'm hoping, Cleveland has ample bathrooms that way so that I don't mind having to go to use the restroom. I just don't want to stand in line for it. That's the big thing for me. I've been to most of the Cleveland food trucks because they have Walnut Wednesdays where they line food trucks around the block, so I know which ones to stay away from. We need those tips. I want to hear that from you. What is like the Cleveland local food? Like, what is the thing?
That's a good
That's what
question.
I want to know. Because everybody, when they come to Chicago, they're like, "Oh, we got to go get the pizza and or the hot dogs." But what is like Cleveland's food? I don't know what it is. So if somebody can help me out with that, that'd be great. Max says Cleveland is just fine, but it's a much smaller show, especially compared to last year. Vastly prefer Chicago for obvious reasons, but Cleveland has nothing wrong with it. Okay, that's good to hear. Yeah, I know it's quite a bit small. It's like 50,000 square feet less. It's massive, massively smaller. And you go to that Chicago show next year, Charlie, it'll blow your mind. It's insane. This is a good first one to go to, I think, because it won't be quite as you could walk for days in the Chicago Convention Center and not see everything.
Really?
Yeah, it's insane. Every Mohor urban hub will have its issue. Huh?
Major.
Oh, major urban hub. Oh, there it is. Yeah, he corrected it there. Major. Yeah, I agree. There's always going to be problems in the area. As long as you kind of know what you're doing and make good choices, you should be fine. Dealers pick table locations based on seniority, as I understand it. That is correct. But what I was referring to as far as like discount box alley, those dealers always set up next to each other. So what's going to happen is this dealer is going to pick these tables. This dealer is going to, they're still going to pick in the area they want to be in. I have a pretty good idea in my head of where they're going to be just based on the general floor plan. Just because of where they like to be in Chicago, I imagine it's going to be similar in Cleveland. So we'll see. We'll see if I'm right or not. But it'll be fun. Be a new challenge. You can bring whatever the heck you want, but need to respect other attendees. If something you can fit a small child in, I would recommend it against it. Yeah. If you're going to be like the annoying guy and keep running carts into people, you're probably going to hear about that. Like my local shows, I'll bring a buggy with me if I know that I'm going for some 3,000, 5,000 counts. You never know what you might come home with. So what I'm hearing here is Peter's going to the show.
It kind of sounds that way.
Max is going to the show. Yeah. We know D-Gen is going. So we need to figure that out too. I think Peter's going. Did I say Peter already?
Yeah.
Yeah. Peter was the one at the end here. Yeah, I think we need to plan a night where we get some drinks, have some food, whatever. I think that'd be great.
A live round table.
Sure. That's actually kind of the hardest part for us, and it was this last year too, if you remember correctly. When I tried to get on the live, Wednesday is I don't leave that show early. I'll stay there until they turn the lights out because that is your first day crack at all the cards.
Yeah.
And I dug and I bought a ton of stuff. Plus, it makes you feel better because you're kind of like, yeah, Thursday, I don't have to buy cards all day. I bought 5,000 cards yesterday. You know what I mean? Kind of get some of your duties out of the way for the weekend right away. But it makes it tough for the show. So, and that was even with a connected hotel. We just walked back to our room and it was like 5 minutes to 8, and I was just turning everything on. So, we'll do our best to be on at 8 that week, but it might be a little bit late. We'll see. maybe we'll start the show from the car ride back. I've done that before, so yeah, I'm excited to food trucks. They don't do that in Chicago. Chicago is huge on like um or like organized labor. I don't know what you want to call it. Union type stuff, right? So they won't let food trucks set up if they open concession windows because that's like those employees have to, you know what I'm saying? So well, so that's good. If they have food trucks, I'm excited about that. If I'm not sure what a buggy is, but if it's something where you can fit 2 5-rows side by side in, I would recommend against it. I would too. That's too much. Not committed, but I'll be vacationing in West Virginia, whitewater rafting in July. I might take a run for a day or two. Awesome. Famous place in Cleveland is called Slyman's. That serve the biggest and greatest corned beef sandwiches. They're really good. I don't even like corned beef. They are not that salty, which is what I expected.
I
Okay.
think I might have seen this on one of those Food Network shows with like Guy Fieri or something like that.
Well, and you said they do have a food truck, so we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know what Cleveland's food was. I kept thinking something like Philadelphia type food, I guess would be the best way I'd put it. I'm looking forward to Yingling for 5 days in a row. Yeah, funny you mentioned that because that's something that I do when I go to Florida. First thing I do is go get a 12-pack of Yingling.
I like
Yingling is?
Yingling. I've been to the brewery there in Pottsville.
Yep. Because they don't sell it in Wisconsin.
Right.
So,
last week in Iowa, I had people ask me if I brought spotted cow for them.
Yeah, because they don't sell that out there. But yeah, I think that's part of the fun though. Like if they did, then it wouldn't be fun when you go out somewhere, right? So, like Chicago, first thing I do Wednesday night is I order my Giordano's. I want my Giordano's pizza. I gotta have that when I get there. But yeah, this is a good. I think this is a good first one for you to go to. It's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit less hectic. Not as many connected hotels, things like that. So should be a little bit easier. Yeah, easier in and out. Biggest thing is that Wednesday day. That's the day where you got to put the work in, or the whole week is just not going to get you what you need.
Sure.
So we got to leave super early Wednesday, get there. I think Ethan and I were in line because you have to go get like your badge and your bags and all that crap, right? And then you go stand in line again after that, the line to get in. Now we have VIP, so we have like a VIP lounge area and stuff.
Yeah.
So we can go up there and they'll have like entertainers, and in Chicago, they have like free pizza and soda and chips and stuff. And some of the VIP signers were up there, like Jan Stenerud was there. And, if you want to do some of that stuff, you can kind of do that while you wait for them to open the main hall. But then you stand in line again to do that, and then they kind of herd you. It's cattle herding, right? So,
right.
So I think we were there about 2 hours before the doors even opened. Just getting our badges, grabbing something quick to eat, and getting ready to get in line to head in. So
yeah,
I think that's probably a good plan to stick with for this show as well. I don't know if there's as much attendance at this one as there is at Chicago.
We'll find out.
Yeah, and because it's a smaller venue isn't necessarily a better thing. There's so many people going, could be worse. You have less, at least in Chicago, I never feel like I have a hard time like getting around or getting into boxes.
Yeah.
So I worry about that a little bit for this venue since it's smaller. But
that crossed my mind as you were talking about things too.
Yeah. Pro tip: once they open the main doors, just sneak in line. That's true in theory, and I saw a lot of people do that, and that doesn't really bother me. But at least the way Chicago does it, is it's all the shut doors here, and then it's this hallway, and then shut doors back here. So you'd still have to kind of get in line even to sneak in to some degree, if that makes sense. It's not like you're the only one trying to get in. So
Max, with your colorful shirts, I have a hard time finding you sneaking into anything.
right, yeah, you're basically a billboard.
Bright yellow.
Yeah. I think what might be interesting at this show is I think we might see more of an influence of non-sport stuff. It's become more popular. More dealers are, starting to deal with it a little bit, as before they just kind of put it in their toss-aside boxes. And there isn't quite as much profit on the sports cards. You need to squeeze out money everywhere. So we'll see. We'll see if that is an advantage for us or a disadvantage. I got some really good deals on some non-sport last year too. So maybe I won't be able to find those good deals. I don't know. But every show you go to is different, right? Even the smaller shows, and it's like I walk in and I always kind of have to some degree some goals, but you go from table to table and you dig and you don't know. You're just like, oh, a Tyreek Hill optic rookie card in this random pack of $2 cards this guy put together. Like, never would have thought I would have seen that there. Yeah. So we'll get to discussing more of those plans as we get closer and have more of you sort of have your plans solidified. We want to hear from you guys, and maybe we can come up with a good spot to meet one of the nights and have a drink, have a burger, and just chill. I'd say not Wednesday. Yeah, any night but Wednesday night. No Wednesday night. Wednesday's a long day of driving. It's important box digs. It's live show, and then it's bed. That's what that's going to be. So Wednesday's toast, but maybe Thursday night or Friday night or something, that'd be great. Back in the 90s and before Yingling would let you tour the place and drink as much as you wanted at the end. Totally got our money's worth every time. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was out there in the early half of the 2000s, and I feel like they still let you drink quite a bit. Like I remember thoroughly enjoying my tour of the brewery out there.
Nice. Well, they should. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it costs them anything. Chicago is the easiest venue. I'm sure it is. I don't wear that when I buy. Okay, good. He's referring to the cart thing.
Oh, he's got his selling shirts and his buying shirts. I get it. The buying shirts, it's like a whole ninja outfit.
Oh, is that what it is? It's got to be inconspicuous. He's got the. It's like poker face, right? You got the hood up and the sunglasses
blends in with the wall, and then they open the door and he just slides in.
Yeah, that's smart. That's smart.
I wonder if Max.
Right. I wonder if attendance might be down slightly with people choosing to go to Fanatics instead of the National. Maybe. I think the National will always have its place because cards are still king and it's still a big card show, whereas Fanatics wants to be more of a media show. But you could be right. I don't know. Because I think Fanatics show is like the week after, isn't it, in New York?
I'm not sure the date.
They planned it like super close. So it's probably intentionally, but yeah, I don't know that it's the exact same crowds. Maybe a few people that just go to the National for like autograph signings and stuff like that. Maybe it will affect some of that, but I don't think a whole lot. Max says the same thing. It won't really affect national attendance. I don't even know if you'd really notice it because, like I said, the venue is so much smaller. So I think if you get 100,000 at the Chicago show, even if you get 75,000 at this show, it's still going to seem like more people because the venue's smaller. That's kind of my take on it. So I don't know. We'll see. But I don't know if Cleveland normally has a smaller attendance than the Chicago show either. So, but yeah, I'm excited. It's getting close. We've got 76 days. We'll keep talking about it, and we'll keep hyping it, and it'll be fun. I think that's going to do it for us this week. You got anything to add, Charlie?
No, I'm pretty beat. I gotta get some more rest and continue to heal up here so I can get back to normal.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. I'm trying to get the voice back. Um, I'm gonna come by and pick up that scanner tomorrow. Do you know what time you want me to show up at?
Just let me know. Just
Okay.
send me a message when you're ready to head over, and I'll have it boxed up for you.
Yeah, I've got some family stuff to take care of later in the morning, and then going out to lunch with my mom, and then might pop by after that. So maybe like noon hour ish.
Yeah, it sounds good.
I'm
I'm actually
hoping.
going to be home all day now, so
Okay.
and I just have maybe 50 more cards I wanted to run through it, so I'll be all done with it.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Don't forget to join our Discord. Chuck, you want to throw a link up there real quick? If you could.
Yeah, let's take a look at that
And
there.
we got a lot of more discussion going on there on a regular basis. Um, do not forget every Wednesday, 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, we do this live. I didn't make any videos this week on my channel. I was just trying to get through it. Got behind with not listing as much. I was playing catch up the last couple of days as I'm feeling better. But I got a couple of videos that I do want to make, so I'm planning to hopefully get something out by the end of the week yet. And then I think my next card show is going to be the 19th. If Charlie can make it, he'll be there as well. Otherwise, that's it.
That is it from Stu.
We didn't really hear from Stu much tonight.
Yeah, we were too busy talking. What was that? That didn't sound normal.
No?
No, was that a shortened one?
I don't know, maybe. Maybe the sound cut out because you were talking. I don't know.
That must have been it.
Yeah, so we gotta have a goat dinner or something when we get down there with everybody. I think that'd be fun. We can get a small group of us together. So,
all right.
That's it for this week. Thanks so much. Keep listening. Keep shipping. Peace. We'll see you next time.
Peace out, peeps.